Hello, so we're back at Chaos Farm again today, and we have a few different sheepies with us. So these are our normal sheepies, but what we're going to be doing today is we're going to actually be seeing Carl, our shepherd, foot trim them. So we're going to just focus on one for the minute, which is Arlo, which is this chap here. He's just looked at me. We're going to focus on Arlo, and Arlo's going to have his foot trimmed, yes, and just check his general foot health really, and then potentially all of them are going to go through the foot bath. So what I will do is I will introduce Carl, and Carl can introduce what he's actually, or tell you about what he's actually going to do. So here is Carl.
Hi. So with these sheep, part of maintenance is foot care. Very important for sheep. They're normally out in the hills and wearing their feet down. Obviously out in the field, not so much. So you need to trim them and foot bath them, which is a mix of water and formalin suspended in a chemical. I don't know what it is. Menthol? No, that's mint.
It's a very long-winded.
Yeah. Anyway, suspended in that, and it's what it does is it kills the bacteria on their feet, which will cause them to have foot rot, which some of them have got at the moment.
Do they have that foot rot at the minute then? Yeah. Okay, so we don't really want to have foot rot, which is why we're actually doing it. And obviously Arlo is going to show you exactly what his feet are like. It may take a few takes to actually get Arlo, because if you imagine a normal sheep is not quite as fat as Arlo. Unfortunately, he's a little bit, yeah, he's a little bit rotund. So Martha, the one at the very back here, she's probably, to give you a bit of an idea, she's about 90 to 100 kilos. So
90, yeah,
that's a good kind of 12, 14 stone-ish, I think. Maybe a little bit heavier. So she's quite big. Arlo, I would reckon, he's quite solid. Although there is a lot of fleece, he's still a good weight, aren't you, mate? So I would say he's probably somewhere to 80 to 90 kilos. So if you imagine trying to hold something that's 80 to 90 kilos that's moving around is not the easiest. So it does take a lot of practice. And as you can see, what they're going to do is they're going to try and go around. So Carl's going to have everything in his pockets ready. So he's just got the foot trimmers in his pocket. And hello. So they're all going to come in close. So what you need to do, like Carl is doing, he's actually getting his head, his nose, and he twists them around. So it doesn't hurt the sheep. It's actually quite used to it. So they twist the nose around to the shoulder, and then just as Carl did, flicks them over just like that. So when the sheep are on their bottom, so on the rump part, they're actually very comfortable. And you can see, because Arlo's actually just keeping quite still. So what Carl is doing is going to trim his feet. So I'm just going to let him concentrate a minute, and we'll stay quiet for a minute.
So what you're doing with foot trimming is you're taking off any excess horn growth. As I said before, if they're not wearing them down on concrete or rocks or whatever they would in the hills and whatnot, then they grow way too much horn to wear down in the field, and that can curl around and cause all sorts of problems, trap dirt inside.
And what you can see is Carl is adjusting Arlo every now and again, because Arlo is so heavy. He's actually pushing against Carl, so to make sure that Carl doesn't lose his balance and keeps Arlo in balance, he's going to push him slightly a different way. As you can see, Arlo really isn't worried at all. So if a sheep is worried, they start kicking and they move and they wriggle. And as you can see, Arlo is quite happy.
This isn't his first trip.
He's not really worried at all. And because his body is against Carl's legs, he's actually got that reassurance that he knows Carl and he can trust Carl.
So Arlo's feet aren't too bad, but there's bits here where muck is going up in the side, and as long as they're fairly clean of muck and that, when he runs through the foot bath, it should penetrate in and kill all the bacteria. So we can flip him up now.
There you go. As you can see, Arlo is now none the wiser or none the worse for it, and he's ready to go through the footbath.
So yeah, as I said before, foot bathing is the main way of killing all the chemicals. So obviously we reuse the chemicals, so we don't dispose of them, we store them until next time. So it's been used quite a bit. So if I get them to run through, I'll let you go. Yeah.
What we'll do is if we
Maybe.
stand,
Could you go?
so we're by the tyre. So the really important thing is that we don't get splashed, because obviously it is a chemical. So if you want to be able to see, we want to be able to kind of capture it for everybody, but with keeping our cameraman Alex safe, that's the most important thing. So hopefully we should be able to see them go through the race and then come into this little kind of holding pen here, which is where they'll stay for a minute or two just to let their feet drip dry on the concrete. So
yep. Cool. And this is only a run through one, so they don't have to stand in it. So
come on, you peeps.
Come on. Come on. Come on.
Come on, sheepies.
Come on.
Good girl. On you go. On you go. Libby lamb, come on. So as you can see, they don't really like going in it because they don't know what it is. It smells a bit funny. Come on, girls. Come on. Good girl. In you go. In you go. Good girl.
There we go.
And sheep, they tend to kind of do the same
as everyone else.
As everybody else.
You're going to be a sheep and follow everyone else.
So now they've gone through there, we can see kind of the little drips of kind of chemical here on the concrete. So this is why it's really important to do it on concrete, because then we can actually wash it off and we can clean it up afterwards. And then you can see their footprints just going away. And if it was smell-o-vision, you can smell the chemicals quite abrasive. And that's probably why the sheep don't want to go in it to start off with, because it actually smells funny. So they've actually now gone through and you can see they are a bit hot, but it's kind of the middle of the day and it is quite warm here. So they are huffing and puffing, and that's purely because they've got this huge, great big coat. I mean, you can see here, what's that? That's kind of what's that? I don't know, from the tip of my finger to here. So it's kind of 3 or 4 inches full of fleece. So it's like wearing 2 or 3 woolly jumpers for us in the summer, really. So you can imagine they are quite hot. And what we will be doing over the next kind of few months really is shearing them off, won't we?
Yeah.
Which actually helps them to not be so hot and just to kind of to keep their health, really.
Yeah, otherwise you have to contend with fun things like fly strike. Yeah,
which is not very nice with maggots.
So that is on the next part of our agenda is dagging them, which I was going to do today, but couldn't find the daggers, which are like hand shears. And then also we'll definitely click them soon, because it's getting that weather where it's warm enough for flies to start coming out.
So what's click? Can you tell
click
our viewers what
like,
click is?
It's a spray-on solution that gives them, depends on the weather, but it's good up to 6 months of protection from fly strike, which is basically where flies come and land in their fleece, lay maggots, and then the maggots eat the sheep from the outside in.
And it's really not very nice.
It's a horrible thing. Martha unfortunately got it a bit last year, just here, which is why she's still a bit short there. And that's, so the actual area was probably only about that big, but you have to clean the whole area around it, make sure there's no maggots, and then put click or something similar, Corvette on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And obviously then it's treating the sheep as well to make sure that they're healthy in themselves, because just like us, if we have a wound, we have to make sure that we eat right and we look after ourselves right so that they can actually heal. So it's the same with the sheep, really. And in all of our years having sheep, that's the first time we've ever had fly strike, isn't it?
Yeah, so
last year.
Definitely better prevention is better than cure with that.
Yeah, so there's sometimes you can see it. I mean, you can see it on the one over there on Ellie. She's got a bit of a bluey greeny kind of tinge, and that's the click, isn't it? Is that the click or the whatever it's called?
I don't think it is.
Oh, is it not?
No, I think they've rubbed onto something.
Oh, there we go. There's,
But
I was
that's normally
thinking
what
it was...
Corvette would look like. It would be that colour.
So there's me showing my my ignorance with this. They've actually been rubbing against something, so I thought it was the actual Corvette and the anti-fly strike stuff.
No, that is just they've been rubbing on something they should not have.
There we go. Sheep do all sorts. Yeah, so this is our sheepies really. So what we'll do is we're just going to leave them here for a minute, probably kind of a good 15 minutes, just so that their feet can dry off. And then we're going to put them in the stable. Then they can have a little bit of munchies in the stable and they can just kind of get out of the heat for a bit really. But we don't want to take their wet feet into the stable because obviously that's going to have a counterintuitive effect really. Their feet need to dry so that the chemicals can actually work on the bacteria that's on the feet. So let's come back in kind of 10-15 minutes. Well, actually it probably won't even be that long because of the heat. Maybe just kind of a couple of songs and then we'll be back and we'll move them into the stable where you can see their nice fluffy beds where they're going to be for a couple of hours just so they can cool off while the day is hot. So catch you in a minute. Welcome back. As you can see, the sheepies are quite eager to get out now and probably because I've got some of their breakfast or their tea rather in here. So these are U-nuts, so it's basically processed sheep food in effect. They're all telling me they want to come out. So we're going to put them out into the field rather than actually in the stable because as you can see, their feet have dried off quite a lot. And actually I thought it'd be really good to show you that they are quite well trained, although having said that now they won't be, but they are quite well trained. They always have to go up the road. So because our farm is basically split by the road, we have to have them quite well trained. So they actually follow what we ask to as much of an extent as they can. Obviously bribery and corruption with some food, because if they don't, if they just kind of walk everywhere when they're on the road, it's actually not safe for them, obviously. So they need to kind of just follow us with food and just kind of hopefully stay as safe as possible. So what we'll do is we will get them out and we will move them up through. They do go up over the steps rather than out around the field because if they go out around that way, then we lost them completely. So they actually go up the steps and then we'll go out the lane and onto the road. So I'm going to just probably get a little bit more food. Or maybe a better bucket. A better bucket would be more preferable because as soon as they see that gap, they're going to just put their nose in it. Unless I can be clever and kind of wiggle away. So what we'll do is we'll get them out and go for it. I'll just get a better bucket. Okay, so let's see what the sheep do. Stand jump. Come on, sheepies! Sheepers! Oh, so they're going to come up ahead of me. Boo! Sheepers! Come on, Ma. Good girl. Come on then. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sheepies! Sheepers! Come on. And as you can see, I've got a shepherd dog as well. Or sheep dog. Come on. So we actually have a car. Sheepies! Sheepies! Come on here, sheepies! Come on, sheepies! So that in itself is actually quite good. They didn't run onto the road. Come on, sheepies. They are more interested in the food everywhere, but come on, sheepies. Come on, sheepers. That's it. Well done, sheepies. Well done, sheepies. Go, sheepers. Come on, Martha. Come on. sheepies. Come on, girlies. Whoop. Come on, sheepies. So what I'm going to do is, because they've actually been very good, put this food into their container, or their feeder rather. So I've got a little bit of a treat, if I can get there, girls. Sheepy shoved. So there we go. Happy sheep. Join us again next time.